All right, so chapter 4 starts off with polynomials, and there's two main things that you're going to be asked for with polynomials. You're going to be asked how many terms there are in your polynomial, and you're going to be asked for the degree of your polynomial. The degree is just going to be what is your largest exponent. And the two hardest ones are the two smallest ones, right? So if you have x to the power of 0, it's going to be what we call a constant. And we say it's to the 0 power because it ends up not having an x in it. So like 7 is a constant term, or -3 is a constant term, okay? And the next hardest one is x to the first. Even though we don't write the little 1 as the exponent, there's a 1 there that you can't see, right? That one's going to be linear. And then after that, it gets kind of easier. So x squared is going to be quadratic. And x to the third is going to be cubic. X to the fourth is quartic. X to the fifth is quintic. Once you get to larger exponents, there are fancy smancy names, but most people don't have them memorized. And you just say, like, this is the 6th power. X to the 7th is 7th power. And so on and so forth after that. Even if you got to, like, x, some variable to this 5th power, if you couldn't remember the word quintic, you could write 5th power, okay? All right, and then there's the number of terms. So if you just have one term, it's going to be called a monomial. Anybody know what it is for 2 terms? Binomial. 3 is trinomial. And after that, you just say 4 terms, 5 terms. You can even use this word polynomial. Polynomial at some point just means many. Okay, so anything pretty much after 1 term, even a binomial is considered a polynomial. All right, so let's look at classifying. So if you have, we'll just call this example number 1. If you have a polynomial such as 2x squared plus x minus x cubed minus 5, you're going to be asked to classify it by the amount of terms and by its degree. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put it in the correct order, okay? What they would call standard form. So you kind of look at all the terms. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So you call it a 4-term polynomial. I don't even know what the name of that would, like I know monomial, binomial, trinomial. Those are the 3 common ones that we use. I'm sure there's a fancy name for 4-term polynomial, but it's not, we don't use it commonly. I'm sure if you Googled it, you could find it, but we just usually say after try, we just call it 4-term, 5-term, and so on, okay? So you're going to classify by the number of terms and by the degree. So what you want to do now is you want to start with the largest exponent, which is this one right here, right? To the 3rd power, so we're going to say negative x to the 3rd. Then we're going to look for the next largest exponent. That would be this one. So plus 2x squared plus x minus 5. Then the largest exponent is this 3, so that makes it what? Cubic. So it's a 4-term polynomial, and it's cubic. Any questions on that? Pretty easy. Okay. Example number 2. You're going to be asked to add some polynomials, and basically you're going to be doing what's called combining like terms. All right, so here we go. We've got 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 plus x cubed minus 5x squared plus 2x minus 5. So we're looking for like terms. Like terms means what about the variable and what about the exponent? Variable has to be the same, exponent has to be the same. So like you couldn't combine an x squared with a y to the third, right? You would have to combine an x squared with an x squared, okay? So just so happens that our first term is an x squared. You're going to look for any other x squared. So I've got one here and one here. So we've got 2x squared minus 5x squared. Combine those two together, you get negative 3x squared. Sometimes it's helpful to put little check marks to know which ones you've used. So at the end, if you have any left over, you figure out where they go, okay? Now let's look for x to the first power. So we have a negative 3x and a plus 2x. Those combine to get negative 1x. Then we've got a 5, but we've also got a negative 5 over here. Those two combine to get 0. So they basically cancel each other out, and we're not going to have a constant term. What's left? An x cubed. All right. From here, you just want to put it in the correct order. So look for the largest exponent, which is x to the third. Next largest exponent is the squared, so minus 3x squared minus x. So how many terms does this have? 3, which makes it a how many terms? Trinomial. And what is the largest exponent? The 3, so that makes it cubic. All right, any questions on example 2? All right, let's do one where we subtract. All right. So for subtraction, you're usually going to see them in parentheses. You're going to have one polynomial minus another polynomial. There's a couple different ways to do it. You can either take that negative and distribute it out and treat it more like adding the opposite problem, or some people do it in what we call vertical, where they line up the like terms. So underneath the x squared, or the 2x squared, you'd write plus 5 squared. And underneath the minus 3x, you'd write plus 2x. And underneath the 5, you'd say plus 5. So you can do it either way. I'm going to show it where you take that negative and distribute it out. Like this. Okay, which means I'm going to switch sign on everything in this parentheses. So if I were to rewrite it, I'd have 2x squared minus 3x plus 5. So everything in the first set of parentheses would stay the same. And then this is going to be minus x to the third. And then because it's minus a negative, I'd say plus 5x squared. And then minus 2x. And then minus minus would become plus 5. Now it's just like an addition problem. So you'd add or combine your like terms. So let's look for We could do x squared first, but since we know we have to eventually get it into standard form anyway, look for the largest exponent first, which is the cube, right? So I'm going to write minus x cubed first. Check it off. Then I'm going to look for all my squares. So I have a 2x squared and a 5x squared, which is 7x squared. Check those two off. Then my x is to the first power. So minus 3x and a minus 2x combine to get minus 5x. So check, check. And then lastly, I have a 5 and a 5, which obviously combines to get 10. And that's our answer. So we just need to say how many terms are there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we're going to call it a 4-term polynomial. And the largest exponent, again, is our cube, so cubic. All right. Any questions on that?